It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. It's the Daytona 200 weekend from Daytona International Speedway here in Florida. Our first round and race of 2022 for MotoAmerica. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, two-time national champion. Jason, here we are. We're in Daytona Beach. We're getting ready to go racing, and it's the high banks with Harley-Davidsons and Indians.
Absolutely, and for the longest that Greg and I have been coming down here, Harley-Davidson's been such a staple of things. Now Indians come to the fight, and we get to watch these guys around the high banks, like you say. It's going to be exciting.
As we look at our Suzuki inside the numbers, top speed from qualifying around here, 162 miles an hour. Jason, they're expecting 170 in a draft. 8 laps and 12 Harleys versus 7 Indians.
Yeah, and it's going to be, like you say, Greg, I think these guys are going to go over 170 miles an hour. You're going to have 4, 5, maybe 6 bikes in that lead draft. And we've got that battle between Indian and Harley-Davidson. Now, this guy, Greg, coming in as the defending champ after winning a championship last year on that Harley-Davidson. And now they've come back with even more force. He's added his brother as a teammate, even though we saw Travis with the last couple rounds last year. Travis is obviously fast this weekend, puts it on pole.
So for Harley-Davidson, this motorcycle vastly improved. We'll tell you more about that, but it's all about Daytona International Speedway. It's 3.5 miles long. It's got a lot of corners to it, but the defining factor, the biggest characteristic, of course, is that high banking. And how are these motorcycles going to handle it? Well, so far, both the Harleys and the Indians have looked rock solid in stability. We can't wait till they take to the track. And that is just moments away. So we'll take our first break. When we come back, we'll get race action going for Mission King of the Baggers, our first one of 2022.
At Indian Motorcycle, we believe the choices you make define you.
I see myself as a leader, not a follower.
Making the default choice is never an option.
It's easy to join the crowd, but it takes confidence to go your own way.
Motorcycles are meant to escape conformity, not embrace it.
Since 1901, Indian Motorcycle has been the choice of riders who make their own rules. Choose wisely.
Don't miss the chance to eat like a king. Get ready for the road course with a full course of Mission Foods. Green flag your race-watching snacks with Mission's mouth-watering race day recipes. Try some of our tasty tacos, piled high nachos, fresh chips with guac, and more. So fill up those saddlebags and fuel up those stomachs with delicious Mission Foods. Now that's too fast, too tasty.
Mission King of the Baggers is brought to you by Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. By AutoPartsForLess.com. Why pay more when you can get it for less? And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to Daytona Beach, Florida, and Daytona International Speedway here, the Auto Parts for Less MotoAmerica Superbike Series, as race number 1 for Mission King of the Baggers is on deck. Let's take a look at the starting grid. Jason Pridmore, Travis Wyman using that draft, goes 55-6 for pole position. Then Kyle, then James Rispoli back in action here in MotoAmerica.
And how about Jeremy McWilliams is here? Jeremy McWilliams puts his Indian in 4th, Taylor Knapp, then Bobby Fong. A little further back to row 3, Danny Eslick, Frankie Garcia, Hawk Mazada from up in Northern California. Patricia Fernandez, Andrew Lee, and Scotty Beal are going to be just outside row 4. Zach Nation, Brian Shields, Eric Stahl, Corey West, Narbonne, and Tyler O'Hara. You notice Tyler O'Hara there, Greg. He actually did qualify better than that, but was found to have an infraction, I believe, for being underweight. So he is at the back of the grid for this one, but look for that charge up to the front.
So your starting grid as bikes, Jason, they're on the hot pit out. With tomorrow here at Daytona 200, that's going to be a fast area full of pit stops, but not today. It's all about this #1 plate, Kyle Wyman, and the development that they've done on that Screaming Eagle Harley-Davidson team.
All of these teams. I mean, really, during the offseason, this class has had so much hype about it, so much press. As you can see here, the Vance and Hines Harley-Davidson, sorry. I went old school there for a second.
Old school.
Vance and Hines Harley-Davidson of both James Rispoli and Taylor Knapp. Those guys have been doing some developing as well. But, you know, we knew it last year as a Harley-Davidson Indian battle between two riders, and now we've got so many new riders in the mix. As you look at Jeremy McWilliams, who, I mean, listen, the resume of this guy all over the world, obviously used to racing in 500 Grand Prix, 250 Grand Prix, has stayed very active as he's gotten older and is still extremely fast. I thought he did a really nice job yesterday, first time going around the bankings on this bike, and there you get a good look at Tyler O'Hara, who last year gave Kyle Wyman all he could. Watch for this bike, Greg. He's going to be on the very outside of the last row. He's going to try to make quick work of 2 or 3 rows in front of him at the very start, and then you know, try to get up in that lead draft. I believe you're probably going to see 5-6 bikes in that lead draft.
If you're joining us for the first time for Mission King of the Baggers, these are motorcycles, Harley-Davidson touring bikes and Indian baggers and touring bikes for all years. The minimum weight is 620 pounds, so compared to a super bike, which I think the minimum weight, Jason, somewhere around 355 pounds for a Auto Parts for Less MotoAmerica super bike.
But you just look at, and it sounds crazy to say this, but you look at how much more sporty they've got. Yeah, just from when we very first saw these bikes at Laguna Seca, there's a lot of time and effort, parts being built. These bikes now, I've had some friends who are journalists that have gone and ridden these bikes, tested them, and gotten a chance to really see what they're actually made of, and they can't believe how good they really are. So these bikes just keep getting better. The performance of them, I mean, Greg, they're doing minute 55 flat this morning around here. You think about that. That's only 5 seconds off our super sport times that we see these guys competing in the 200 tomorrow. So, you know, it's not like these things are slow or they don't handle. They actually, especially the factory bikes, the Vance and Hines bikes and so on, they handle really well.
There's aerial shots provided by Lucas Oil as you enjoy great overhead shots at a day that, well, Jason, if you'd looked at a schedule for MotoAmerica, this race was actually scheduled for 3 hours later in the day, but there is rain coming, and we don't race here in the rain at Daytona International Speedway, and so that's why MotoAmerica time shifted the schedule to get this race in and get it moving. Some more races on the horizon later on in the day as the schedule will continue to roll on. After this one will be Twins Cup, followed by the Roland Sands Super Hooligan race.
Looked like Scott Beal there had a problem on his Indian, Greg. See him just coasting, looked like to a stop. Saw him on the warm-up lap creeping down pit lane after the warm-up lap, and looks like they weren't able to get that bike fixed. So might be one less than what we see here of the 18 riders.
Here's a schedule for Mission King of the Baggers for this year. Daytona International, where we are right now, there's 2 races scheduled. And then when we get to MotoAmerica, you have Road Atlanta, Road America, and Laguna Seca. So it's going to be a packed year of racing.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of those tracks before. I think there's a couple more added there, Greg, at the end. I think they'll be at Barber, possibly, maybe Jersey. I can't really remember for sure the final 2 rounds, but yeah, we're going to see these bikes 6 times this year at our MotoAmerica events, and obviously this is a standalone for these guys as far as our full schedule goes.
Yeah, the Daytona 200 is a standalone race that'll happen tomorrow, but in terms of the Auto Parts for Less MotoAmerica Superbike Series, it is a points-paying round, 2 of them for Mission King of the Baggers, as well as the other races that we have lined up. Well, Jason, you talked about development of these motorcycles, and a lot of it has to do with ergonomics, and being that these bikes are only really just over a year old, maybe a year and a half, there's a lot of development going on. Eight laps scheduled for this Mission King of the Baggers, race number 1 of the day here at Daytona International Speedway, race number 1 of the season. What is going to happen on the high banks of Daytona? Who's going to get away clean? And will Tyler O'Hara be able to come from the last row and work his way into that lead draft pack, which we expect to form of Travis Wyman, Kyle Wyman, James Rispoli, Jeremy McWilliams of MotoGP fame, 500 GP in the mix on row number 2 with Taylor Knapp, Bobby Fong also, who's now got a job and is here racing for a couple of these Mission King of the Baggers.
I'm looking out, Greg, and I don't see Rispoli on the front row. You can see the 2 factory Harleys there, but the Vance and Hines Harley of Rispoli has not made his way back.
So here we go, race number 1, Mission King of the Baggers from Daytona. When those lights go off, we're rolling. Clutches are out. Kyle Wyman with a wheel in the air. These baggers all up the inside. People rolling all over the place. So Jason, here we go, and it's going to be the number 10 of Travis Wyman, who gets out to an early launch with his brother in tow, the number 1 plate, Kyle.
Yeah, he's exactly right behind, and it looks like Jeremy McWilliams there in 3rd. So the 2 brothers out front right now. This would be a dream scenario if they could kind of break away somehow and get out front. But look at this flyer that Travis is on. Travis set the pace here yesterday, was very fast. And right now, Jeremy McWilliams is doing all he can to hang on to the back of these guys, Greg, because at the moment, you got 3 guys kind of getting away. And this draft, when they get up onto this bank and as they come out of turn 6, is so crucial. As you see Taylor Knapp making a bid for 4th place just behind these guys. But if you look at that Indian, you see what McWilliams is dealing with a little bit. The bike moves around an awful lot on exits, where the Harleys look a little bit more stable right now there at the front.
The team threw a new swing arm, looked like a MotoGP swing arm on that Indian motorcycle of Jeremy McWilliams' bike for today's practices and qualifying. Down the back straightaway we go, heading into the chicane. The number 10 on the Harley-Davidson Screaming Eagle Road Glide. The first run into the chicane, and McWilliams starting to lose touch ever so slightly. Wow. And Jason, look at the drive that Travis Wyman's able to get. But your experience on the high banks, is Kyle Wyman in a good place to catch a draft?
He's in a great place, and he got out of the chicane really nicely, and he had a quick little glance over his shoulder to see if he's got anybody else there with him. And if I know Kyle and Travis, they've probably had a little discussion of, let's not mess around with each other too much in spots. You can see Kyle actually backs out of the throttle there as they came across the tri-oval. And, you know, where these guys are going to get shown a pit board is going to be in the infield section. And you can see Travis misses a gear there, goes a little bit wide in turn 1. Kyle has a look over his shoulder to see if anybody was with him. So Kyle's going to do his best now to put his head down through this infield section. Is this Tyler O'Hara already up to 4th? It is. You can see that bike moving around a lot as he comes into this infield section, our first horseshoe. O'Hara is going to be on the gas trying to get back up to the front to catch those 2 Harleys, and he's got McWilliams. McWilliams has done a nice job of keeping that gap at somewhat of a minimum.
Let's welcome the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, into it. Hannah, things are already crazy in this first lap.
Greg, it's definitely been a wild ride so far, and we're not even to the halfway point. Now, Jason earlier in the race mentioned that James Rispoli was absent from the grid. I ran down and talked to the Vance and Hines team. James was standing there, and he said, you know, unfortunately, we're having some trouble with the bike. It's not quite running for this race. Maybe some issues with the clutch. They're going to troubleshoot, but luckily, they'll have another opportunity to have another go at it once more this weekend.
That's a shame he's out, because he has been fast in the sessions that we've had, Jason, for Rispoli back in road racing.
Yeah, it's good to see him back. It's just such a shame that is the case. And yeah, it sounds like it could have been a clutch. But let's see if these Indians can get together and run down the 2 Harleys that have kind of broke away. And you can see Taylor Knapp there in 5th place. He's trying to go along with O'Hara and McWilliams. Man, McWilliams got out of the chicane really nicely there. There's another bike there too. I believe it's Shane Narbonne in 6th place, trying to go with them. And on these banks, look, Greg, you can see the draft. O'Hara now in the draft of McWilliams.
Look at the right part of your screen. That's Tyler O'Hara coming from the back of the grid. Jason, what a start that he got. And that displaces a couple of riders. And why? On the right part of your screen, he's able to do what he's doing right now, battling for position with his teammate, Jeremy McWilliams, is the 2020 winner of the Mission King of the Baggers inaugural race here in the Auto Parts for Less MotoAmerica Superbike Series.
The problem is that You know, you look at what he just did there, 55.6. A lot of that's going to be draft, being able to get in that draft coming from the chicane. But look, he is going to be able to run these two guys down. We're going to have a 6-rider battle here, I believe, probably within a lap or two. 57 flat and 57.2 for the leaders. And then the next 3 guys, Shane Narbonne actually with the quickest lap of the race at a 55.6, 55.8 for O'Hara. So Narbonne is in the back of this 6 riders that you can see here. Actually, he's made his way now past Taylor Knapp as well. So let's keep an eye out on Narbonne, Greg, because I know yesterday he had a problem in one of our qualifying sessions. So they had to do a lot of work to get this bike back together.
And of course, Shane Narbonne, who's on the 86, is on that Trask Racing team. And for Narbonne, he's got a turbocharger on that bike, a Trask turbocharger. And that is part of the rules. Superchargers and turbochargers are present, especially on these 107 Indians versus the 131 Harley-Davidson. But continuing to lead the way is the #1 plate, Kyle Wyman. Jason, going back to when Travis made the mistake, the audio cue for that too was when he went into turn #1 and made that mistake. You knew he grabbed an extra downshift. They had a problem because you did hear a little bit of screeching of the rear tire, which indicates that the rear wheel and the engine weren't at the same speed. Another member of our broadcast team joining us is Roland Sands. Roland, what are you seeing out there, man? How are you?
Pounds of lead to these bikes, but with the quick turnover between qualifying and the race, we probably didn't add enough fuel, so the team added some more weight for the main event. Tyler's moved all the way up into 3rd place from the back of the grid, so it's on.
Doesn't seem to be making a big difference to Tyler O'Hara today. We'll get back to the racing.
Well, the big difference could be, Jason, that Tyler's got such a fast mindset right now that once he catches these Harley-Davidsons, is he going to be able to dispense of them? That's really the big question. But yeah, 3-race dash for cash that Tyler O'Hara was able to win. But unfortunately, it just happened with fuel. But that's all part of the growing pains.
You know, the thing is, Greg, he's going to be able to make that time. He keeps chipping away at it. 55.6 the last time, and really, he did that pushing his own wind that last lap. So he's got time in this race to continue to chip away. Like I say, 6 laps to go, and if he could just get himself a little bit closer. We've seen Kyle the last couple times in our first split go red, so he's got that infield section pretty well dialed in. It looks like his brother just behind him, and then O'Hara. So on that lap there, Kyle was almost a full second quicker in the infield section of the track. But look at that Indian, Greg. It just kind of creeps back up on these Harleys as it goes around these bankings, and you can see Travis getting that bike up over the paint on the exit, getting back in that tuck, and his brother's just out far enough to where he can't quite get in that draft, but O'Hara is close enough. You can see him. He's there. He's close enough. I expect that pass to be made as they come across the tri-oval. That Indian should be able to get in the draft of the Harley and do some work.
Top of your screen is the number 29 on the Mission Foods S&S Indian Challenger team out of Petaluma, California, Tyler O'Hara, who's had a career of racing these secondary classes over the course of his career. And now Kyle makes a huge mistake. So all of a sudden, Kyle has lost the lead. He goes from 1st back down to 3rd. Just cannot get that turn 1 dialed in that particular time. And he hands the lead over to his brother, Travis Wyman.
Yeah, and we've seen that now from both of the factory Harleys up at the front, missing gears down into turn 1, not being able to get the bike tipped in. It's a really sketchy place, Greg, because you're kind of tipped over as you go into turn 1 there, and you're trying to get a lot of speed scrubbed, and you're back shifting through the gears. And if you can't get that feel to tip the bike in, they did the best thing that they could and just kind of run the bike out a little bit. Got to remember, Greg, this is going to be a longer season for these guys. Points are going to be such a key thing to be able to score points in every race. You can see Kyle is just getting in there. He's trying to get the bike into gear, and it's just not doing it.
And you know, Jason, in talking with James Rispoli, who unfortunately is not in this race, but asking him about his experience, he had 80 laps on his bike. I said, when does this bike feel heavy? He said, the only time it feels heavy actually is if you're too deep into a corner and you've got to kind of get that stopped. Other than that, if you hit your brake markers and you roll through the corners, it's extremely nimble, these Mission King of the Baggers.
You said the 600 and something pounds. So yeah, you're definitely going to feel that weight when you're decelerating, and especially if you're, used to riding other types of bikes around these bankings. If you've got experience like all these guys up front do, braking in the braking zones on such a heavy motorcycle, it's going to take some getting used to for sure. So you can see that Kyle's now got himself back up onto the back of Tyler O'Hara. Travis is trying to do a little bit of a disappearing act himself now.
Kyle Wyman, second bike in your screen with that iconic Harley-Davidson Stars and Stripes #1 in the draft of the Indian, and he will pass and work his way up to second spot. So a good move for Kyle Wyman as Travis, #10, continues to lead this race. Jay, they're fanned out, but really we're not too far away. You have Travis Wyman, Kyle Wyman, Tyler O'Hara, Shane Narbonne, Jeremy McWilliams, and Taylor Knapp, all in that top 6 that you can see in your screen.
Hey, Narbonne is right there, Greg. I mean, he has O'Hara, you can see there, strictly in his sights, and you get a good look at Shane Narbonne. And this is going to give Kyle Wyman a ton of confidence, knowing that he's able to draft past that Indian really, really easily before the tri-oval. And you can see now, Greg, see that gap that's opening between first and second? All of a sudden, O'Hara, and I'm not going to speculate that he's got a problem, but it definitely looks like he has had that gap opened up on him quite a bit through the infield section of this track on this lap. Kyle's got his head down trying to reel his brother back in.
So Travis Wyman continues to lead with Kyle Wyman trying to close the gap like Jason said. Tyler O'Hara, did he use too much tire? That's the question. Three and a half laps to go in this one. The Wyman brothers leading the way. Kyle looked like he had it his way until a mistake into turn #1. Travis, last time by, 56.5. Kyle was about a second slower. Hannah?
Well, Greg, in talking to Travis earlier today, he said his goal for this race was to try and break away from the field because he knows he really has the pace to do so. He's showing that right now. Overall, very comfortable on the bike. The team has worked really hard to get him to this place. No big changes between, the second qualifying and that mission challenge this morning in the race, because he's feeling really good about it, and he's showing it right now.
Yeah, and Jason, in talking to Travis Wyman, he said the biggest change for him, he raced at the end of the season to help Kyle win this championship, but was signed on as a full factory rider just like his brother. They worked on the ergonomics, and Travis has been racing in the stock 1000 class in the Auto Parts for Less MotoAmerica series. And so the ergonomic changes that they've made have made that bike feel similar to the BMW that he races in that class. And it's been a huge change. We're talking handlebars, seat, foot pegs, all those ergo changes to make it more comfortable. And just that change alone is showing right now because Travis Wyman, #10, is looking very comfortable out front.
No, he really is. And Tyler O'Hara has me completely confused because just like that, he's closed back up on the back of these two Harley-Davidsons. This last time through, when they came into the second horseshoe here, turn 5, he was quite a bit further back than he is now. So he, I don't know if there was just a mistake made, and but he's been able to close that gap back down. But Travis, yeah, he's been doing really well in the stock 1000. We saw him win a few races last year on that BMW that you spoke of, and it's a bike that I believe he'll be back on this year. He'll be doing double duty. For Kyle, he's been strictly super bikes for the last few years, and now he's just a Harley-Davidson factory rider. That's all he's going to be doing as you see him coming out of the chicane, wheeling over that curbing, getting the bike back down. But yeah, now, look, if you look at the bottom right there, he is fully in the draft of his brother. He's caught back up, but O'Hara is within striking distance again.
Here comes Kyle Wyman. He's fanning out, trying to find some room, not quite close enough to strike. And they're dragging the 29 right with him. So this battle continues between Harley-Davidson and Indian motorcycles in a showcase of American iron right here on the high banks of Daytona International Speedway. A little bit of drive lost for O'Hara coming out of the chicane, but here comes the #1. He's going highline. You can see the bags on the motorcycle moving around. It doesn't look like he's got the head of steam he needs in that section.
Well, he's really good out of the chicane. Kyle's really good out of the chicane, but O'Hara is in a double bike draft. You can't see it in our shot, but he's literally right behind him. There he is. So O'Hara has done the fastest lap of the race, a 55.419, Greg.
Oh, and Kyle's got some drag, Jason, as the right bag has opened up. So the top of the bag on the baggers.
Oh, I see it.
And a nice big slide in the background for 4th place out of McWilliams. But so Kyle Wyman's got a little bit of drag. Hopefully he doesn't have his evening clothes locked into that bag at the moment. So Kyle Wyman He won't notice that, but we can definitely see that bag open. Look back to the left.
And it looks like Narbonne has had a problem because he has shifted back to the back of those three behind and lost touch. A lap and a half ago, it looked like Narbonne was the guy putting a charge on to get to the front of this group, and now he's in 6th place. If you look there back in the background, you see McWilliams and you see Taylor Knapp. But now you got the 3 guys at the front, Greg, that we figured, at the end of last year we saw this pretty tightly contested battle. And let's see if O'Hara has something for a double bike draft in front of him, if he's able to do anything. We haven't really been able to see him play any cards. You can see Travis gets a little bit wide down into turn number 1.
And there's the pass for the lead. So there goes Kyle Wyman with his new aero package and all. He'll take the lead. So Kyle Wyman into the chicane. Well timed, Jason. What a great move by the number 1 plate.
Yeah, you can see that there's a little bit of a gap there. And he just looks like he's got so much confidence throwing that bike around, Greg. And he's really good out of the chicane. And he has gapped those guys behind him just from that moment that he got into the chicane and out. Kyle Wyman has been able to open up that gap. And these guys are coming now to the white flag.
Second place, change. And there goes Tyler O'Hara into 2nd. And look at him just reeling him in. Checkered flag is out. We're going to the final line. And oh, there it is.
O'Hara.
For the race win, O'Hara with a perfectly timed move. And the race win.
Well, he held his cards close to his chest, Greg, because for the longest time there, he was running 3rd, staying in 3rd, kind of rolling around. I mean, at one point, it looked like he had lost touch. And he's able to get a double bike draft coming out of the chicane, slingshot around, and win this first race of the year.
What a move. And on lap number 7, when Tyler O'Hara needed it, a 1:55.419. What a race pace. Plenty of tire underneath. Unbelievable. How do you like that? From the start of the race, it was all about this for Tyler O'Hara. Jason, he got a heck of a launch and disposed of 6 or 7 riders by the time he even got into turn number 1 and off a pit lane.
Yeah, he slingshotted. We said that if he can get by, say, the first 2, 3, 4 rows, that was going to be helpful to him. And you can see he got hung up just a little bit behind Frankie Garcia, but this was the pass at the line. Wyman had opened up a gap on those guys on the exit of the chicane, but O'Hara was able to use the draft of both Travis and Kyle. Travis gets his brother at the line to end up 2nd with Kyle Wyman in 3rd. As you get another look at it from overhead, he comes off that turn 4 bank, and that Indian had a head of steam and goes right through, right past Kyle Wyman, as does Travis there.
And Jason, Tyler O'Hara set the fast lap of the race on lap number 7. On lap 8, he was only a 1/10 of a second slower. What a ride for the Indian Challenger. We'll be back with more from Daytona in a moment.
At Indian Motorcycle, we believe the choices you make define you.
I see myself as a leader, not a follower.
Making the default choice is never an option.
It's easy to join the crowd, but it takes confidence to go your own way.
Motorcycles are meant to escape conformity, not embrace it.
Since 1901, Indian Motorcycle has been the choice of riders who make their own rules. Choose wisely.
Don't miss the chance to eat like a king. Get ready for the road course with a full course of Mission Foods. Green flag your race-watching snacks with Mission's mouth-watering race day recipes. Try some of our tasty tacos, piled high nachos, fresh chips with guac, and more. So fill up those saddlebags and fuel up those stomachs with delicious Mission Foods. Now that's too fast, too tasty.
Mission King of the Baggers coverage has been brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson and custom V-twin motorcycles. And by AutoPartsForLess.com. Why pay more when you can get it for less?
Welcome back after an entertaining and very quick race. Tyler O'Hara, on an amazing draft and pass maneuver, is able to win this race by 0.2 of a second. And that battle between Indian and Harley-Davidson continue. Kyle Wyman, Jeremy McWilliams, Taylor Knapp, Shane Narbonne with a great run in 6th, down to Frankie Garcia in 9th. Well, Jason, that was an interesting run, and it just looked to me that Tyler O'Hara and his Indian had another gear that we didn't see.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to hear his interview after this and just kind of get what he was doing. It looked literally like, you know, looking at it now, he was just pacing himself. He didn't want to show his hand too early. And when we saw Kyle Wyman go past that Harley-Davidson earlier in the race, I thought, wow, that's a big disadvantage that the Indians seem to have. But boy, was I wrong, because O'Hara got one great run out of the chicane there and was able to draft past both those factory Harleys and do the business here for Indian today.
So a little redemption for the Mission Food S&S Indian Challenger team, as Tyler O'Hara had won this 3-lap, the Mission Challenge, like it's just a 3-lap sprint for cash for $5,000 that Tyler O'Hara won, but unfortunately was found underweight, and he redeems himself by maximizing his points haul with 25 on the day. And a good job by Travis Wyman to be able to sneak by his brother at the start-finish line by 35 thousandths of a second. So Jay, very impressive run, and you know, for those riders that were just back there, I mean, really, if you look at McWilliams and Knapp and Narbonne, they were just 2.8 seconds away from the leader. The changes they're going to be able to make tonight when we finally had a full session of 8 laps in a row under dry conditions has been great.
Yeah, I think that Shane Narbonne would be interested to see if he had any kind of issues. Taylor Knapp up there, only 3 seconds off. Of course, his teammate didn't get to start the race, James Rispoli, due to a problem before the race even started. So he might be another guy that you'll be able to throw into that hat tomorrow as far as people being up front. Be good to see if, you know, if we can see Bobby Fong get his bike a little bit more competitive to where he could get up in that lead group as well.
So for Tyler O'Hara, just 55 fours, Jason. So impressive. I mean, these are times that these twin motorcycles are doing that would put them in the 19th or 20th position in qualifying for the Daytona 200, which is made up of a bunch of race purpose street bikes. And these baggers doing a great job. Interesting to see what happens with Kyle Wyman, and obviously they're going to be zip tying that bag down. Make sure that that lid doesn't come open. Now we get to take a trip down to Victory Lane with Hanalopa with our winner.
Well, a crazy turn of events at the start of this race. Back of the grid for Tyler O'Hara. You made quick work of the field and managed to draft yourself to the line for your first victory of the season. Tell me how you got it done.
Woo! Oh man, that was just, had to work for that. That was so tough, and just had to stay present and stay in the moment. And I didn't know that we were going to be at the back of the grid, so got me a little fired up and had a little extra that race. But got to thank the Lord above for keeping me safe. And you know, it's such an honor and a privilege to be representing America's first motorcycle company, Indian Motorcycle brand. I want to thank our partners, Mission Foods, Medallia, S&S Cycles, Parts Unlimited, Drag Specialties. I want to thank my crew, my family for all the support and sacrifices. Man, just everybody that helps this program. I'm so grateful. Clockworks, SBS, Olin's, Cometic, Motion Pro, everybody that helps me. The brave men and women who support and fight for our country so we can live free and race our motorcycles. Shout out to everyone back home in Petaluma. I can't wait to get home and celebrate with y'all in the Duck Shack.
Congratulations, today's race winner, Tyler O'Hara.
Well, Jason, we couldn't have a better stage for these two massive motorcycle companies to duke it out. And the first Victor goes to Indian Motorcycles, and I know that Harley-Davidson, they're going, uh-oh.
Well, they are, but I think we're going
here?
to see a lot of this throughout the year. We're going to see a lot of battling up front between the main people, main antagonists of our series here.
Let's get down to Hannah with our second place finisher.
Second place today goes to Travis Wyman of the HD Screaming Eagle team. Travis started on pole from this race, led quite a few of those laps, and you were able to salvage a second place finish there at the end. How'd you hang on?
Yeah, first of all, I'm super happy with second place. I've never even stood in this area here or stood on this box at Daytona. It's been 8 years since I raced here. The guys at Harley-Davidson Screaming Eagle have been working probably 15 to 18-hour days since Laguna last July, and they put a great package underneath us. The little bit of testing that we got leading up to this just gave me so much more confidence coming in, and I just really got to give it up to them. In the race, I really struggled on corner entry. I think we can improve that for tomorrow. I'm really happy we get another shot at this tomorrow. Thank you to Alpine Stars, Bill Mola Helmets, Wes, Jason, Steven, all of the guys at Harley-Davidson, Screaming Eagle, everyone back at the factory that's been working their butts off. We got two Harleys on the podium today, and we're going to better that tomorrow.
Thanks, Travis. Congrats, guys.
Well, for Travis, you can sense the disappointment, and boy, without turn one, you kind of wonder how this race would have ended up, don't you, Jay?
Well, he led laps, and you can see they made a big change, or big improvement for Travis from last year. The testing, he said, really did help him, and you can see that by the confidence he had. And it was interesting seeing how disappointed he is, but he's also happy with second. He'll take these points and get out of here.
Let's get back down to Hannah with our third place finisher.
Rounding out our podium is Kyle Wyman, also of HD Screaming Eagle. Kyle, you took the lead on that last lap there, but got drafted to the line. Take us through those events.
Yeah, you know, it's similar to a lot of races I've had here. I couldn't draft anybody before the line, so I figured I might as well try to lead. Got a pretty good run out of 6 and thought I had some room to breathe, but wasn't to be. So obviously pretty disappointed. Happy to have both Harley-Davidson Screaming Eagle factory bikes on the podium today, but we got to be better. So tomorrow we will do that and try to get it 2 steps higher for me if we can, and keep Travis where he's at.
Thanks, Kyle. Congrats.
Brotherly love. You just love seeing it, don't you?
Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch as the year goes on as well. So, and you know, Greg, I really do believe we're going to see a couple other guys throwing their names in that hat. But it's interesting to hear Kyle say what he said as far as not being able to draft somebody coming to the line, and he felt like leading into the chicane was his best shot. So we'll see if that strategy changes at all tomorrow after he watches some of the video back.
Made changes that were made to the aero. So after our first round of the Auto Parts for Less MotoAmerica Superbike Series Mission King of the Baggers Championship, Tyler O'Hare, of course, with 25, then Travis with 5, Kyle Wyman back with 9, and on through the field. And this, of course, is the easiest math you'll do all year because this is how they finished. But we got more coming at you. Mission King of the Baggers race number 2 happens. Cannot wait to see what happens on the high banks.